I want to tell you about my pal Frank Miller. This is a name you're going to know because you'll have seen pieces in Rolling Stone, the New York Times. Frank Miller burst on the scene in comics in the 70s. He got tired of looking at comic books in which the superhero was taken for granted. He began by working on a comic book called Daredevil, which he reinvented and brought from the depths of no sales right to the peak of popularity. After his success with Daredevil, he created a book of his own called Ronin, which is a fully realized futuristic novel that goes all the way back in time to ancient Japan and all the way forward into an Orwellian 1984 kind of future. And he revolutionized what comic books looked like by utilizing the best paper and coloring processes. Then last year, he took one of the most deeply established icons, Batman, and he said, what would this man be like as he was nearing 60 and had not been a crime fighter for, say, 10, 15, 20 years? And he did The Dark Knight Returns, which is now a book published by Warner Books that is an astonishing document. It revolutionizes comic art, and it revolutionizes the way we think about comic books. This is Frank Miller. He's hot. You better take a look at him.
We've got to keep in mind that the main image people have of superheroes is Adam West playing Batman on the old TV show. That's what had to be overcome. But the idea itself is valuable. And it's also a hell of a lot of fun to write and draw. If you get it back to what the substance of the idea is, if you remember that Superman began as a common man against the forces of evil in the world, which were largely forces of authority back in the 30s. And you go back to when Batman was a vigilante who carried a gun on his hip back in the 30s again. You start seeing what a strong chord they can strike. Much of the stuff that Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, and others are doing now is kind of a right-wing version of those old comic books. And Dark Knight was really an attempt to take it back a lot in terms of the basic meat of the material, and at the same time bring it forward in terms of the world it lives in and the kind of fiction that you can do now. I really enjoyed the idea of making him as old as his legend is, and letting it be a cranky old legend, this ravenous old hero. I wanted to bring back that hearty sense of malice that he had back in his origins. Ronin, for me, was absolute proof this can be a terrific field to work in, and this is a great time to do comics. I had a publisher give me free rein creatively, terrific production values. I was able to work in collaboration with Lynn Varley, a painter who was able to bring unheard of dimension to the color art. And I was able to charge into this form, into this project with this art form that's been in suspended animation for so damn long that most people don't think it has that it could possibly be any good. And I was able to play with it. I was able to twist things around, to bring in subjects and themes and graphic methods from sources far-flung. On top of that, I had been exposed to what was going on in Japan in the comic books and in France. And the work of Moebius in France and the work of Goseki Kojima in Japan, both of these collided on me at roughly the same time and came right out in Ronin. It was a playground and it was a nightmare, and it was a wonderful project to work on. Nothing could have taught me more. Nothing could have made me feel better about the form or make me feel more committed about this as my art form than Ronin. In the 40s, when comic books started really taking off, there was an assembly line system set up in order to produce them more rapidly. And since comics have generally regarded themselves as junk quality, it was not that much of a consideration. The outstanding comics have generally been done by one person who writes and draws, Will Eisner being a preeminent example. I believe it is one art. However, I don't believe that that's the only way it can be done. And my collaborations with Lynn Varley, with David Mazzucchelli, with Bill Sienkiewicz, have taught me that thrilling things happen when another artist is at work, when you're playing off somebody, when you get those surprises and when you get those problems you gotta solve. I think it's too early, for me anyway, certainly for me, to make any hard and fast statements about which way the art should be done better, because every project I do seems to be different. I'm also very new at this. And maybe you know, I could give you a better definition of the best way to do the form in about 30 years, so get back to me.
Dave Sim has created a character. I'm not quite sure if you'll get this. He's got a character called Cerebus the Aardvark. This is a talking, barbarian, sword-wielding aardvark, and there's a whole universe that Dave has created for him. And Dave has done this as his life's work. He's committed himself to doing 300 issues of his comic, Cerebus the Aardvark. Every month, he publishes the book himself. Now, nearly a third of the way through this epic, Dave has already completed 3 full novels: Cerebus the Barbarian, High Society, which is a marvelous antic thing that features a character who looks like Groucho Marx, and Church and State, in which he becomes the Pope. The story blends elements of satire, humor, politics, popular culture, and mystery, supported by a unique cast of characters who move in and out of the book purposely and with motive. As entertainment, Cerebus succeeds on a lot of different levels. It's very sophisticated, and it's pure communication.
It's a roller coaster ride. So anything that makes for a good roller coaster, I'll put in the book. There's very few things that I will dismiss out of hand. Oh, that doesn't belong in Cerebus. If you're making something your life's work, you're going to find a way to put just about everything that's important to you into it in one regard or another. And I'm finding that out of the 30-some-odd thousand people that read the book, most of them are pretty simpatico to that. I'm talking about their stuff, like I'm talking as a baby boomer. I don't watch adventure films. I don't watch genre films for the most part. It's 2 people in a room. For years, talking heads was a pejorative. I think David Byrne has helped a great deal in establishing, hey, that's what it is. I mean, if you're going to do a film or a comic book or any other entertainment that doesn't have just 2 people talking, you're missing the whole essence of what's human. I mean, we are human because we sit and talk. How many fist fights does the average person get into in their lifetime? How many people go, flying off their balcony? How many people get into a car chase? These become cliches in entertainment and virtually non-existent in real life, which to me makes it, what makes that art then? Art is supposed to be something that speaks to the human condition, and you see very little of the human condition in most popular culture. The Cerebus the Barbarian part of the storyline is really a series of very short episodes. They're either single-issue stories or I think out of the first 25, there's a couple of 3-issue stories. Basically, we discover the character as a mercenary, thief, former tax collector, layabout, drunkard, gambler, basically unsavory individual, no ambition, no place that he wants to go. Through the course of high society, he arrives at the Regency Hotel still very much the barbarian. I mean, the desk clerk says, if you leave your bag, someone will take it, and he says that's why Cerebus is keeping it with him. It's a way of establishing that he's really not in this league, but then because of previous political connections that he had through the Cerebus the Barbarian story, it becomes apparent that he's thought of as some very canny behind-the-scenes manipulator, you know, one of the chosen successors to the powers that be, all of those kind of things. He changes as he goes along, pretty much as the winds shift. He's in a lot of ways, Cerebus is the consummate politician that way. Whatever he sees happening, or whatever phrase he picks up, or whatever he will use to death. So it becomes sort of a cross between Richard Nixon and Chauncey Gardner. You know, it's somebody who really doesn't know what he's doing, but somehow everything keeps rolling his way. It strikes me as a kind of an interesting thing to document for 26 years. 26 years.